well, let's get started. So when you get the GoPro, you notice the box is already open. That's because the camera had to be barcoded, plus I charged the battery so that you could use it as soon as you got it. So inside the box, you've got a document here that talks about GoPro cloud storage and warranties. You have some GoPro stickers, and then some other documentation, including the manual. Inside the box, you'll find the USB charging cable that you can obviously charge the camera with, but you can also use it to take the media off the camera and put it on your computer. It comes with an adhesive mount, and finally a battery. Okay, so to get the GoPro off the mount here, there's a little rubber piece that you lift up, and then you squeeze these two plastic pieces together and just slide it backwards, and it comes right off. And I would hold on to this black part that's on the top. I mean, you can take it off the box, and it works as a nice little stand. So to remove the GoPro from a mount, you just take this mounting screw and you unscrew it counterclockwise, and then you can just pull it right off. And the old GoPros used to have a case and a mounting bracket attached to it. Now they've done away with the case and put these mounting fingers on here. And what's cool is they retract, so you can just do that, and then you can just set the camera down on the ground if you wanted to. To put it back on a mount, you just bring those back out. Now, when you get this mount, this piece here is temporary. It's meant to come off, so you just take it off like that, and you don't need this anymore, so just get rid of it. Another thing is on the back, there's this protective cover, so you just can remove that once you get it, take it off. Okay. So the two different types of mounts you're going to have is the screw mount and then the slider mount. And which one depends on the accessory that you're attaching it to. So this is a floatable grip, which can be a lifesaver when you're using your GoPro out in the water. So in order to use this type of mount, you have to have the slider mount attached to the GoPro. And this is the one that it came with. And so you just have to make sure that rubber piece gets lifted up, and then these two prongs, those will be squeezed together, and then you'll slide it on the grip. So, and then you'll slide it till it snaps, and then push that rubber piece down, and it's attached. So this is the GorillaPod, and this is going to be a great tool for you to mount your GoPro to, and you can just get really creative with it. There's so many different ways that you can set it up to mount your GoPro. So the GorillaPod doesn't come with a mount for the GoPro, so you need to use this accessory to mount it. So what you do is just, first of all, you have to screw it on here. And by the way, this shoe is removable. And it's also got a leveler, which is kind of cool, so you can make sure your tripod is level if it needs to be. Okay, so then to mount the GoPro on it, you're going to have to remove the slider mount. And then you'll stick it right in there. Got to make sure those fingers are set up right. And then this screw just goes in here, and this is screwed in there. And then you're good to go. GoPro uses a micro SD card. What's important is that you use an SD card that is fast enough. Otherwise, when you start to record, the camera will just freeze. So I always make sure that the cards say that they will shoot in 4K. The card I like the best is the SanDisk Extreme Pro. Now this one is 64 gigabytes, so probably good for about a half-hour footage if you're shooting 4K. If you shoot like in 1080, which is the lower resolution, you can get a lot more out of that. But they do make bigger cards that are like 128 gigs and 256 gigs if you want them. So I'd like to show you how to put the card in the camera and the battery. So the card goes inside the camera. You have to open this door here. There's a little notch. You just pull it down, you'll hear it click, and then it just opens. This is so much better than the old ones. The old ones were just a major hassle. Now when you open it, that's where the SD card's going to go. I'll show you that in a sec. Sometimes this will pop off. Don't panic. There's a little pin there, you see, and you just line this up with the pin, and then it'll close up. So don't worry about it. I mean, you don't want to try and pull it off, but if it does, don't panic. So just open it up, and then you'll see the little slot right there for the SD card, and then obviously the larger compartments for the battery. But I find it's easier to put the SD card in before I put the battery in. And there's these brass contacts, okay? Those go in first. And I have the label side of the camera kind of facing the compartment. And you just slide it in there. And it's got like a little spring in it, so when you push it down, it'll basically lock into place. And once the SD card's in there, oh, by the way, to get the SD card out, then you just push down on it, and it springs, spring loaded, so it'll come back out again. So you just got to practice a few times, but just be careful that you're putting it the right way. If you're having to force it, you're doing it incorrectly. So just a nice soft click, and it's in there. And then the battery, have the label side of the battery towards you, and just stick it in there. And if it doesn't go all the way in easily, you've got it in like, you've accidentally put it in like this way, but the blue goes in first, and then you just close that and lock it, and the battery's in. To take the battery out, obviously you open the door again, and there's a little piece of nylon there you can grab and just pull the battery out if you need to recharge it. To charge the GoPro, once again, you have to open up the side door, and right below the battery is a port there for the USB-C cable to connect to. So you just select it there, plug it in there, and then this can go into a computer. And if you go into your computer, I think it's take about 4 hours for it to charge, or you can use a USB charger. The important thing though is to be sure that that charger is a 5 volt and like a 1 to 2 amp charger. If it's not, it could damage the GoPro. So you could always just check the charger is compatible with the GoPro just to make sure. And you can also use this cable to take footage off of the GoPro, and we'll talk about that later. Just one last thing I wanted to say about the door is you want to make sure that when you close the door, you close it down and then you push this in. You want to make sure that it is securely closed, because if it's not and you were to put this GoPro in water, obviously water would get into it and damage the camera. So be sure the door is closed. So the Hero 8 batteries are unique because they have blue on the top, and they're designed for that camera. If you have an older GoPro, don't use those batteries with the Hero 8 because they can damage the camera. So to power the GoPro on, there's a button on the side. You just press it once and press the second time and hold it, and it'll turn on. Okay. And then once it's on, you have to choose the language. Okay, and then it asks you, do Do you agree to the legal stuff? And then, you agree. GPS, you want to turn that on. Okay. And then it needs you to connect to the GoPro app. So you're going to need the GoPro app, and in order to get that, you can go to Apple Store or Google Play, download it, and then once you have it, open it up and have your GoPro open as well, and click Add Camera. Now, if you already have a GoPro app, there'll be a place on the top that you click to add another camera if you already have one. But anyway, so then this shows up, you do connect camera, and it's going to ask you to pair with Bluetooth. Yes, you want to pair it. All right, and here you can give it a name. So mine is kind of personalized here because it's on my phone, so to keep it generic, I'm just going to call it Hero Black. Okay, done. And then I'm going to save the new name. And it's probably going to ask if you want to do an update. And if you do, give this a second to load up. And so, yes, we want to update it. So select that. Okay. And it's saying that this is a bug fix, so I'm going to choose update, accept, continue. Okay. I had an issue there. My SD card wasn't inserted all the way, so the process got interrupted. So I'm going to continue then. Continue with the update. Needs to join my Wi-Fi. Okay. You'll probably get this stuff too. It has to connect to your home network. Anyway, it's updating the camera now. All right, so now the update is done. And it says your Hero 8 is ready. Let's go. All right, so now that we've got the GoPro set up, let's get into it. So to turn it on, just press the power button once on the left-hand side. And just to let you know, as I go through here, I'm probably going to make some mistakes and have to redo it and stuff, but thanks for your patience. Just like teaching in front of the classroom, sometimes you mess up and have to do it again. But let's just start off with the interface, what we see right now. So when I turned the camera on, it had this icon at the top. That means it's in video mode because it looks like a video camera. If you want to go through the other modes, you can like sweep across the screen and it'll pick another one. Or you can, this happens to be time warp, which is like time lapse. And you can press, if you press the button on the side again, it'll take you through the other modes. So there's photo, there's time lapse, and there's video. Okay, before I get into these other settings, let me just show you how to record. So to record, you just press the record button at the top, and then here you go. As you can tell, I love John Deere tractors. Collect them. So to stop recording, just press the record button again. And to look what you just recorded, scroll up from the bottom, and there it is. And the quality is amazing on these GoPros. You're just going to love how your videos look when you're done. If you like the clip, keep it. If you don't, you have the trash can there. If you took multiple clips, you just click the grid and it'll show you the different clips you've taken. Okay, so to go back to the regular camera mode, just swipe down. Okay, I'll just keep that in there. So let's look at some of these other buttons. So this, where the W is, this is the well, basically the width of the shot. So right now it's set to wide shot. If I scroll down, it's set to linear, and linear is what you typically see on the screen. Wide tends to have a little curve to it, but I usually shoot in linear so that it looks like normal video. If you scroll down, you have this narrower one. As you can see, it's a little tighter shot. So narrow or linear are the ones I shoot in, but if you want this super wide angle shot, then go for it. You just go up to wide and even super view, okay? And so you just mess around with those and choose the one you want. But like I said, I stick with linear, but that doesn't mean you have to. Okay, so another thing that's kind of cool is you can actually zoom in. So if you click this, you can zoom in, and then when you record, it'll be zoomed in when you record. Okay. And then this button, if you're going to shoot anything that's moving, this button you got to know. So this is the hyper smooth button, and with that on, if you're walking with your camera, there's no shake. It's super smooth. So if you're doing demos where you're carrying stuff around and you're moving, this is a great thing to have on. Okay, now you see all this information down here. This can get overwhelming, so I don't want you to get too wrapped up on it, but let me just tell you what it is. So you click on that, and it takes you to these different modes that you can shoot in. So they're standard, and this is probably what most of us are going to do when we do our demonstration or teaching videos. But if you have something where there's like, you're teaching a PE class or something and there's going to be a lot of activity, then you would use that mode. Okay. If you wanted to, you know, look like a cinematic film, you know, like it's something to put in Shulapalooza, then you'd go cinematic. And then slow motion is really cool too. And that's something you just, and it shoots it at like 240 frames per second, which is super, super smooth for slow motion. But when you get more advanced, you might want to actually go in and start messing with the settings. And so like if you go into activity and you click this, standard, and you click that little edit icon there on the right, you can go in and you can change everything. So like earlier I was showing you like what lens you'd want to use. So, you know, linear or narrow or come on, wide or super view. You can do all that in there. If you want to change the resolution, you can do that. As you can see, this can shoot up to 4K, but honestly, I don't think it's necessary to shoot that high, especially for online videos. But if you want to, it's available to you. 1080 by 60 is good. Just a quick little lesson on frame rate. So 24 is what is a cinematic frame rate. 30 is more for like documentaries, and then 60 and higher is for action. I typically shoot in 24, but you know what? If you just don't want to worry about it, you just want to get into the camera and start shooting, then just scroll up or down. How do we get out of that? There we go. Okay, then just hit standard and go. Photo mode. So to get into photo mode, you swipe across and go to the photo, the camera. And you know that you're there because you've got the camera icon there. So let's take a look at these other buttons and see what they do. So first of all, there's 3 different modes when you're in photo mode. There's photo, which just takes a single photo. There's live burst. It takes 30 photos in a second, but takes a few before and after. and burst just takes 30 frames in a second without taking any before and after. These, you can edit here, but all of these things that you can change, like the file type and lens, etc., that can be done without going into here. So let me show you how that works. So the first icon, it says it's unavailable. It must be because I'm in narrow view. So hold on a second. I gotta change that to, let's see if it works now. Yeah. So we'll take a look at that in a second. But anyway, so zoom, simply just zooms. Okay. This one shows you the different photo types that you can take. So super photo is probably the best one. GoPro does a good job of doing all the auto adjustments. HDR stands for high dynamic range. You get a lot of contrast in those photos. They're pretty cool. I would try and take some and compare them to super photo, see what you like. Okay. Standard, these look good too. They may not be quite as good as a super photo, but they still turn out pretty good, a little smaller file size. And then raw, these are large file size images, and they need to be processed in Photoshop or Lightroom. So unless you know how to do that, I'd stay away from that. So I just would go to super photo. And then over here, we can change the width of the lens, or the focal length. So on the bottom, you have narrow. And remember earlier when I was trying to change the zoom, you can't do that when you're in narrow mode. And then there's linear with a slightly wider field of view. And then there's wide with obviously a wider field of view. Okay, so once you've, I guess there's one more thing. So this is your timer. So you can have timer off, timer set for 3, timer set for 10. Okay. So once you have it all the way you want it, take the picture, you just press the shutter at the top. Takes the photograph. Just like the videos, swipe up to go look at your photo, and there it is. If you have more photos, you can swipe through them, or you can put it in grid view to look at all of them. And then you swipe down, and you're back into photo mode. If you want to switch to video mode, once again, just slide across and choose it. Or if you want to try time-lapse, you just go there. I'm not going to spend time on time-lapse right now. If you want to learn more about it, go on YouTube. There's a ton of great videos about it. It's a really fun feature. You can do some really cool stuff. So I recommend once you get comfortable with the GoPro that you check that out. The last thing is, earlier when we set the camera up, we did a bunch of adjustments to settings to get the camera ready to go. If you ever need to go back and do that again, if you go into preferences, you can do that here. All right. Let me see if there's anything. Oh, I should probably really quickly tell you what these things are. So this gives you a grid. So if you ever heard of rule of thirds, it's a tool you use to compose your photos. So as you can see, there's a grid there now. So that's what that tool is for. Oops, wrong way. Okay. The GoPro is set up so you can use voice commands to have it take a picture, take a video clip, and a number of other things. I haven't done a lot of voice control stuff, but it's available for you if you want to check it out. If you want your camera to beep to know that you have, clicked the button properly, it gives you that. If you don't want it, obviously turn it off. Quick capture, that means when the camera's off, as soon as you turn it on, it's going to take a photo. So you don't have to go into anything. So it's like if you see something happen right now and you don't have the time to set the camera up, just have that set. And so when you turn the camera on, it takes the shot. Lock, if you have lock on, basically whatever settings you have set for your camera, you're not going to accidentally click a button and have it change to something else unintentionally. Okay. And orientation lock, if you decide that you want to, shoot something in landscape view like this, or you want to do more portrait view like you see on your phones, you can lock it so it does one or the other. Okay, I pretty much just leave that alone. All right, that's about it on how to set up the GoPro and how to operate it. As you gain experience and get more confident with the camera, I encourage you to get on YouTube and watch some of the tutorials there so you can improve your skills even further. I look forward to seeing the videos you put together. So have fun with it.